Alright, welcome back to another episode of the Hentai Literature Club podcast, where here we look at hentai through the lens of literary criticism. I am Josh, the president. I am the head of the Hentai Literature Club. I am joined by the usual suspects, Xavier of the Student Disciplinary Committee.
Hello.
Chaz, the Student Council President.
What's up?
Melinda, who I believe is the head of the Manga and Anime Club, and Nanaif, who is head of the Occult Club. And yeah, so this is the Insect Girl episode of Monster Girl Month, where we are taking the whole month of October to look at the tag Monster Girl and its many permutations, because there's just too many Monster Girls to talk about in a single episode. And for those of you who haven't been keeping up with these episodes, we are also writing and drawing our own Monster Girl related content, which you can find on our blog spot, which will be posted in the description of this video. So, to get into the nitty-gritty of things, like I said, we're looking at the tag of Insect Girls under the Monster Girl kind of main category. So who here can tell me what you expected when you saw Insect Girls?
Okay, well, first of all, I gotta say that checks were written on the last episode that I do not think were cashed.
Okay, I will admit that I remembered it worse than it was.
Okay, yeah, because when you were saying, like, we would have a much different conversation, I was like, let's have that conversation. I had the fucking scuba gear on, I was ready to dive down that rabbit hole, and kind of tame.
It's okay, we're going to get to John K. Pita and Shundou eventually.
So here, I've had a bit of a, and I think it's appropriate to talk since this is a literature podcast, yes?
Yes.
I've had a bit of a change of philosophy lately.
Brought on by hentai.
More so brought on by education, I guess. So, as I say in front of every one of these, I'm a writer. And I've been trying to hone my craft a little bit. So, have you ever heard of this guy named Brandon Sanderson?
Yes, he's a fantasy author.
Yes, okay, you know what I'm talking about. He wrote the Mythspawn series. He wrote, I think he did a chunk of the Wheel of Time, too. Anyway,
yeah, he's pretty prolific, right? He's not like George R. R. Martin. Is he one of the ones that publishes regularly?
Yeah, he's pretty prolific. But anyway, so this guy, he has lectures on YouTube, and he's done actual university-level classes. And I've been watching his lectures. There's a playlist. If you type Brandon Sanderson lectures, there's a playlist like 90 fucking videos. And I've been just listening and learning, and he's talked about different genres, talked about different structures of prose, and I realized that I have been going wrong about literature my whole life. And now my goal is I want to go on a literary pilgrimage. I want to write in every genre at least once with a completely open mind. And that means having a completely open mind about literature as a whole. And
does that include hentai?
Yeah,
is that
absolutely.
Where this is going?
Okay. And I realized because of this, like as I was working on my smut for the, even calling it smut, I think has been derisive because I've been programmed this whole time. Oh, it's porn. It's not to serious. Be taken. Yeah, it's not to be taken serious. And now I realize, no, every literature has something to offer. I might not like that particular literature. But, if I'm going to write in every genre, then theoretically there's going to come a time where I write a paranormal romance. And that means I have to acknowledge that Twilight, as much as I fucking despise it, has something to offer.
You're still free to tear it apart. It's poorly written.
Okay, well that's good to know. But now I'm trying to approach this as literature first and foremost. And, some literature has action scenes, some literature has sex. And sex is intrinsically a part of the human condition, and I think any kind of puritanical view that I've had before just needs to be fucking gone, because it is equally fertile and equally legitimate ground to explore. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but this is liberating for me. I'm excited for this.
Okay.
New experiences.
And plus, I probably just rambled on for like an hour. It's going to get cut out in post, but I feel good about it.
Oh, Xavier, when I first said that we would be talking about Monster Girls when you came back, you made a face. Why did you make that face?
These are pretty tame as far as Monster Girls go, as far as like what the ratio is from monster to girl is.
Yeah. I was actually expecting them to look more
monstrous.
Weird. Yeah, monstrous.
I've noticed that Westerners, when they do monster girls, tend to draw them a little more monstrous than the Japanese do.
Yeah.
Wait, when we're talking about Western monster girls, what are we talking, like Monster High or?
No, I'm talking about like people who make like erotic art on like DeviantArt and stuff like that, or people who do commissions. If you go to our Discord, where we opened it under the CAFCON Discord, right, we have the board dedicated to the Hentai Literature Club.
Yeah.
And one of our fans, when he saw that, or one of our members of the Discord, when he saw, like, oh, Monster Girls, let me share all my Monster Girl stuff I have on the server, on my server. And he was like, some of it's Western, I'm sorry if that doesn't fit. And I was like, no, it's fine.
I'm sorry if you don't like three-dimensional women.
Yeah, and so it's still drawn stuff that he posted. But it's insect girls, and I noticed that the Western stuff that's very clearly Western by the art style, it's more monstrous, and that some of them, they still have, like, features reminiscent of human anatomy. But it's like, oh, it's covered by like carapaces and scales and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Whereas like in the stuff I gave you guys, which is the most popular stuff under Insect Girl, they still have human vaginas, human breasts.
I was not expecting the stick bug to have breasts. I thought the whole time that was like a fake out, and they'd be like her second set of arms like folded up or something under her shirt.
Did you assume Stick Girl meant she was also going to be a patanko?
Patanko?
I wasn't sure, although I did think the chitinous vagina was funny. If I'm being honest.
Wait, what?
The chitinous vagina.
She has little
had, like,
bug plates around her vagina.
Oh, yeah.
When I saw that, I was just kind of like, oh god, what is this?
Continue, Xavier.
Well, yeah, I was somewhat relieved with it. Like, oh, okay, it's just a healthy amount of monster.
Well, also, once again, like I tell you guys, I usually pick the stuff when I go to the main hentai websites. I usually pick what is the most popular because I want to look at what people
like.
Yeah, what people like, what they find enjoyable. So I assume the more intense variations of Monster Girls are probably going to be towards the bottom of that popularity list.
Because there's a very thin line. Okay, well, there's not actually a thin line. There's a gradient from girl to just bestiality. And so, like, I think the closer you get to, the more people are just like,
So yeah, we've discussed Monster Girl in general, but what were you expecting would be different from like lamias, onis, and other yokai and mythological creatures to something that doesn't really have a mythological equivalent?
I was for sure, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but fuck it, we're going to talk about it anyway. I was for sure expecting somebody to eat their mate, like at least once.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's hinted at though.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
the second one.
Yeah, it doesn't actually happen. No, was there anything else you all had that you were expecting to happen?
Different, I guess, like, diets, which I guess is brought up in one, and then, like, behaviors.
I noticed there were some things that are very insect-like in the stories that they don't really point out, but I'll get into that later. What about you and I? What were you expecting out of Insect Girls? I oversold it to you as well.
Yeah, because I was going to bring a couple friends to talk about it, and Josh was like, okay, but really, like, look, this is what's in these stories. And so when he started telling me, I was like, okay, well then maybe they should come in for another tag, because they're not very, like, avid
filthy normies. How dare you bring normies in this holy spot?
So when I started reading it, it was just kind of like a little underwhelming. But as to what I was expecting with the tag, I honestly...
You went in without expectations?
Yeah, because I hadn't seen anything before.
Well, now that you all, as you all saw, I gave you 6 works, even though Shiragasane is one continuous story, which isn't done. I believe it has one more part left. These were the 2 artists, Nakamura Regura and SOLOPIPB. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. SOLOPIPB? He's also part of a group, I believe, called Sekekon Memorial. Anyways, these 2 guys popped up the most. The guy Nakamura, he has, like, I think at least a dozen Insect Girl works to his name. And him and SOLOPIPB popped up numerous times. And in fact, I think they're actually working on a crossover work together right now.
That's kind of cool. It's a hentai Avengers.
I think it involves the girl from Niji no Ori and the girl from Shiragasane.
If it didn't, I would have been disappointed.
But yeah, so... very clearly, these are only 2 artists we're looking at, but they're by far and large the two most popular insect girl artists. Having read these now, what do you think people find interesting about insect girls in particular as compared to monster girls in general?
Well, the first one that we read, the Love Stickness girl?
Yes.
That one, she actually used her anatomy to great effect.
Yeah.
So, I could... I don't know if I want mandibles around my junk, but I guess I could see why other people would think it was cool.
Also, the Shundou no...
Kokoro.
Yeah, I think didn't she use her wing or
Yeah,
something?
she used her wing.
The one wing. A wing job.
I don't know what diaphanous feels like.
Oh, like an insect bug? I mean, the insect wing?
Yeah.
So somebody was just like, I wonder what that feels like. It'd probably feel fantastic on my dick.
I was going to say, I forgot where I had it saved. Let me see if I can... Yeah, it's right here under the episode questions. But there's actually a name for this, because I was pretty sure that there was a name for sexual attraction to insects. And
Formicophilia!
Yeah.
Xavier, you know all about Formicophilia, don't you?
But yeah, this isn't necessarily attraction to insects, it's about having insects crawling over your body.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
it's
God.
I was actually reading about the original case study where the name Formicophilia comes from.
Was it Fear Factor?
No, it came from a man in Thailand, and he used to keep bugs in like ant farms and stuff like that, and he enjoyed the way it felt when the ants came up and they crawled up his thighs, like the tickling feeling, I guess. And apparently what happened is his dad caught him having sexual relations with another man and beat him horribly. And the psychologist said that his formicophilia developed due to like some issue caused with his sexual development and the rejection of his, I guess, quote unquote, natural expression of his sexuality, his homosexuality, I guess, which led to him going into using insects as sexual stimulation, because he went on to using cockroaches crawling over his thigh, his genitals, and his perineum, and as well as snails crawling over like his nipples and his genitalia.
At least that one was good for his skin.
But yes,
Hey, he's not the first guy to get snail trailed.
but yeah, that relates specifically. So the mandible thing made me think of formicophilia, because that's a very specific sensation that you wouldn't get from anything else, is the feeling of that, I guess, that insectoid ticklingness on your genitals and your body.
So not to give the wrong idea that like he's some weird deviant, but didn't you have like a huge image dump or something of like Formicophilia images?
Yeah, it was really gross.
Yeah, it was like a meme in the group. This might have been before you were there.
I don't
or like
remember this,
right when you joined. Yeah, I remember. Like Formicophilia was this huge fucking deal for a couple of weeks. What's Formicophilia? Cue the standard Xavier line, "Well, since you asked," and he showed this article, and there'd be like chicks with ants like crawling out of their butthole and weirder stuff, like huge fucking grasshoppers on dudes' dicks, and just
It's really gross.
it's a thing.
Yeah,
It's really not my thing.
It's
you don't want to shame anybody whose thing that is.
it's
No.
interesting.
But yeah, to me, that's definitely an appeal if somebody isn't necessarily a formicophiliac, but they might be interested in her, right? And it kind of crosses that gap from straight up having insects crawling over your body to at least it's halfway there in that it's a woman with insectoid features.
I would imagine that to a certain extent sensation play comes into it a little bit, because I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure none of the insectoid women, minus maybe half of the third one, had a real human hand. It was all chitin. So I imagine there's a lot of fantasizing about what that might feel like, what having that hard, slick surface or instead of like soft, plush skin.
I actually also went to a few Monster Girl boards on like Reddit and other places where people talked about like, oh, what's the appeal of Monster Girls to you? And one of the ones I saw was like it's the element of danger that I like. And to me, I definitely saw that a lot here, in that at least one of the stories, it is directly implied that if this guy ever leaves the situation, there's an almost certain probability he's going to die, and this woman's going to eat him in the Niji no Ori. And it's kind of hinted at that this isn't the first time this has happened to somebody at the end.
Right. Is there more of that, or does it just end there?
No, that's where it ends, is she's like, oh, take care of the house, I might be gone a while. And then he's like, oh god, I can never leave here, kind of.
That's interesting.
Until the crossover event happens with Shiragasane, obviously.
Uh-huh.
The the biggest thing to happen since Bowsette joined
He
Super
leaves,
Smash
but
Bros. Ultimate.
he runs into a shed.
Yeah, what else do you all think that you saw might be like a sexual appeal or some other kind of appeal that people like about Insect Girl specifically?
The multiple arms.
Just like, yes, I can jerk you off, and she had like 3 arms, right? The other arms, it's like, okay, so you got your dick, and I guess you can fall into your balls, and then stick a finger up your butt too.
Well, no, there was one where she was like you jerk them off and then work the head, and then she still got all this over here.
Yeah. 2 is enough.
Yeah, we got into this obviously a little bit, but how were you all expecting the tag to influence the text either narratively or visually?
I expected things. Well, I don't know if I can necessarily say I expected things to turn out worse for the protagonist, because I would say the vast majority they were in pretty bad situations. However, I expected things to turn out worse. Like I said, I expected them to eat them or fucking like poison them or something. I expected somebody to have his blood drained by a tick.
Yeah, I was expecting some kind of like, I bit you, and I have an aphrodisiac effect, like,
That's true too. There's a couple times where they bring up, oh, she smells so good. Like,
That's in Niji no Ori. That's what I was getting at. I looked it up, and some insects do in fact use pheromones to attract mates and prey. So I was wondering if the author of that work purposely put that in there without directly stating it.
It seems
because in a way it works as both, right? This guy's attracted to her, and at the same time he's prey to her.
Well,
Right.
he's scared, and then
He was scared, and then he started
smells
smelling her,
her.
and he's like, "Oh, I'm hard all of a sudden."
fear boners happen. I can't think of a time it's ever happened to me, but allegedly they happen.
What about you two?
What do you mean?
I'm never afraid of anything.
I don't think I've ever had a fear boner.
Something about the threat of me dying doesn't turn me on.
Your fight or flight, it kicks in and you go fight mode automatically.
It's not fight or fuck mode. It's though I guess if you're in MMA, it's probably both.
So yeah, I give you guys a lot of work because mostly the ones I want to talk about are Niji no Ori and Shiragasane, because to me those two are kind of similar in a way. But I gave you the other two to show that
it's not all like that.
Yeah, it's not all
monster girls.
Yeah, it's not all psychological torture and Stockholm syndrome.
That's what makes it interesting.
Yeah, that is what makes it interesting. But yeah, I'll summarize some of the works just for the sake of expediency. So, Love Sickness Girl is a work about demi-humans and humans have recently started integrating together. However, humanity is able to accept some demi-humans, but not all demi-humans. So this character by the name of Adachi and his girl, which is Fumiki, who's a stick girl, or stick bug girl, are dating each other. However, she's never opened up to him. She's always wearing conservative, obscuring clothing. Until I think some high school girls are like, "Oh my God, look at that stick bug! Look how tall she is! How gross she is!" kind of thing. And he's like, "Let's get out of here." Accidentally takes her to a love hotel.
Sure, accidentally.
The basic hentai trope is taking your partner to a love hotel, quote unquote, on accident. And then she opens up to him with "I know I look gross and people think badly of you because we're together." And then he's like, "I like you because you're unique, not because you're the same as everybody else." And they fuck their issues out with each other.
I kind of feel like that one was really tame in that, like, it wasn't necessarily a bug girl thing. It was more just like, you're different.
Yeah.
That it was pretty, like on the nose of anybody that's different. Just kind of feels like, or society talks about people that are different.
It's just like, why are you going out with one of their kind? You should be going out with one of your own.
Yeah, that was something I noticed with Insect Girls, is like, at least with these two artists, they almost use the frame of an insect girl to talk about, or they use it to implement something else. Like, in a way, it's almost like that Love Sickness Girl. It's almost like watching somebody in an interracial relationship in like the 60s or something.
It's interspecies.
Yeah. And then Shundou no Kokoro has that whole dealing with your partner has almost a terminal illness kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then Niji no Ori, that has a different theme to the other two that I saw. But Shiragasane, that one also seemed to me like it's really about dealing with mental trauma. But I'm getting too much into it, so I'm going to summarize Shundou no Kokoro real quick. And Shundou no Kokoro is That one is about two partners. I think one of the male protagonist is a high school teacher who married one of his students when she graduated. Married one of his students when she graduated. Shortly after, she develops an illness that is slowly turning her into an insect. And they're unable to be romantically intimate with one another due to the fact that he's too worried about her, but she's also worried about how her illness is affecting him. And they also manage to be like, oh, well, I still love you kind of thing. And they end up having sex, she has a baby, and that manages to halt the illness that she's developing.
Well, with that one, I was hoping for the positive plot twist, and that's just like, no, I can't look at her. I'll just get an instant boner.
Your insect parts are
That
too
would have
sexy.
been better.
Yeah, I was hoping for that, and it didn't happen.
So
And
you're
it
saying
I was waiting for that too.
you're saying you were hoping he was a leg man.
Or just like anything, just been like, it's like, no, please leave me alone. I have to go to work. If I stay here, I'm gonna fuck you all day.
Right. Anae, would you like to summarize Niji no Ori for us?
Yes, okay. So that one is this man that is living with a woman, and then you find out he's not there because he wants to be there, and what happened is he's living with an insect woman, sorry.
Yes.
And then an insect man takes, like, I guess, kind of kidnaps him, takes him to her, and is like, hey, look, I brought you this to eat, fuck me. But she's like, no.
You're pathetic.
Yeah, and then kicks him to the curb and takes the human in. And kind of, she says he brings out like a motherly sense in her. So he takes him to sleep, and then he can't sleep because obviously he was kidnapped. He doesn't want to be there. He's afraid he's gonna get eaten. But she tries to comfort him, and then her smell kind of makes him forget about everything else, and then her boobs kind of make him forget about everything else, and then they kind of have sex. And he just kind of... It kind of seems like he's not okay with the idea, but he's accepted the idea that he's stuck there, but also I don't think he wants to be there anyway.
Because at the ending it says that it's a pain the landlady sees him in her apartment, in the bug woman's apartment. Toka-san is her name. And then she's like, be careful with this one because it's always a pain to clean these up afterwards. And then she's like, oh, he's a good boy. I don't think anything's going to go wrong with him.
So it's assumed that if he tries to run, somebody will kill him.
Yeah, because she knows he's listening. Because she looks at him at the end.
Yeah.
Xavier, since you've read Shiragasane before, would you like to tell our listeners, give them the summary?
Sexy time loops.
I do love curves.
So this guy, for some reason, decides to tackle his childhood trauma, and he knows it's centered around the shed or it was going back to his parents' house, right?
Yeah.
And
He moved out to the city.
he's just like, I don't know why I left, but you know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try to confront my fears, which isn't a bad way to do that. But you should probably have somebody with you. Not a lot of people have good mental fortitude to go face their trauma by themselves. As you know, we saw with this guy where he just ends up getting raped.
Okay, I feel like you're...
No, that's what happens.
I mean, yes, you're absolutely right, but I feel like you're missing a couple things along the way.
Would you like to fill in the holes?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So apparently, when this guy went to his childhood shed 10 years ago, there was this moth girl there, and the moth girl basically, for whatever reason, decided then and there to claim the kid as her husband, gets raped whole bunches, and then his mother comes to check on him and the kid is able to escape when his mother comes. His mother gets seriously injured or something. It's not entirely certain what was her name was like Kyra or something, right? I don't think they ever actually say her name in the text, but at the end of Shiragasane 1, there's like the concept drawings.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, it's never actually established what kind of powers Kyra has or what she does to his mother, but when she hurts his mother, he's able to escape, but he can't remember anything about what happened.
It
Every
seems
time he
like-
walks out of the shed.
Right. He can't remember what happened as soon as he leaves the shed. So for 10 years, he just has these recurring nightmares that he doesn't understand. He can never remember them when he wakes up. So finally, 10 years later, he's like, I'm going to go back and find out what happened. And he ends up in a recurring time loop where he just basically gets consistently raped by this moth girl over and over again. And then somehow becomes a child, leaves the shed again.
I think that's like his mental state, no?
So there's
That's
obviously a
how I
lot
saw
of
it.
symbolism going on there, and I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm ashamed of myself, but I have no fucking idea what it is.
Like, like it might be that, but like, he might just be going back in time. In the text, he might just.
It's
Yeah.
never implied whether he's actually going back in time and this is happening to him over and over again, or whether he's going in and every time he walks in, he's living it over again.
That's a good point.
Because it's different every time.
Yeah, it's different. That's why to me it's more he's going back in time kind of thing.
Because then she's just like, "Oh, you're back again. This time you won't leave,
And then
like you did last time."
yeah,
But then he
in 2
keeps
and 3
leaving.
he starts remembering this is happening again. How many times has this happened to me?
Oh, why do I like this?
So, like, one thing that stood out to me was because, like I said, they never actually specify what kind of powers Kyra has, and you guys started talking about how moths are symbolic of death, and I think Xavier brought up a theory of how this kid was like dead and in purgatory.
Because there's the wooden doll gets brought up.
I actually looked it up. because-
Kaiko. That's I'm pretty sure that's what he named her. Kaiko.
Okay.
I actually looked it up because to me that it seemed like a yokai kind of thing, or either a yokai or a Japanese occultism kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I looked it up and I could find 3 different kinds of dolls in Japanese yokai mythology. I can't remember the names of them, but I can remember what they do. But 2 of them are related to each other, but one of them is used as a ritual offering. And what it is the doll you make either out of paper, wood, or straw. And you use it in rituals to either, I think, to usually bring good fortune to somebody or to curse somebody. And the doll stands in place for somebody. And yeah, one of them is for good things, one of them is for bad things, and that's how that doll is used. And the other one is a doll that is used to grant wishes. However, once one wish is granted by the doll, it will immediately demand to fulfill another wish, and it will keep doing that over and over if you don't keep asking it to give you things, and it'll keep going until the point where you're dead, and the doll follows you and haunts you in hell. Or in, I don't know if it's Buddhist hell or Shintoism has some sort of hell of its own.
So that's interesting. So you think that doll that he kept mentioning was super important?
I think it might have something to do with yokai mythology. However, I couldn't find it like a direct correlation.
See, I was thinking that Kaiko was somehow entirely symbolic when you guys started bringing that up.
But then at the end of the third one, we see she has her own like narrative, and we're experiencing her without the guy,
Right.
and then she has a kid.
Well, see, here's what I found interesting. Like, so
Just to make it clear, I guess we'll just move into straight up talking about Shiragasane for now.
Shiragasane, I think, was by far the most interesting one. The other three have their merits, absolutely. But this was a brain fuck, and this was like I do enjoy my brain fucks. The movie Oculus is my favorite horror movie ever. I'm pretty sure it was critically panned when it came out, but
I'm sure it still is.
I mean, yeah, I enjoyed the fuck out of it.
But yeah, because so what I think happens, the reason I think it's he just goes back in time, is because you don't see the kid I'm sorry, you don't see the kid on the second or the first one.
Yeah, he
But
he
she's
doesn't-
pregnant in the second one.
Was she?
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
a very.
notice.
It's not. It's only like a. I think it's one of the first pages
Yeah.
of just.
It's also in the cover art.
Yeah, it's the cover art. I think that's where it is.
Where you
Yeah, the
see her
cover.
pregnant.
Okay,
Yeah.
I did see that. I
That.
didn't actually see it be.
It's not part of the story, but when I saw the kid, I was like, okay, well, did they reference this? And then I remembered I saw
She
her
was
pregnant,
pregnant,
and
yeah.
was confused.
See,
Yeah,
she,
no,
but
see,
she
it's
looks.
not
She looks
insinuated.
slim.
But it's in the cover art.
Yeah.
But that's cheating, though.
Well, that makes
Well,
you just
it's
pay attention.
insinuating that she has become pregnant. Still.
And then when he goes
Oh, no.
back, well, she's the way she was then, so she's not pregnant. But in 10 years, had the baby and then it grew up. So
the child also comes out at the end of the second one. I think her outline maybe. Because you can tell that she's different from the mom because she doesn't have any voluptuous features.
That's not them.
Also, she has, what, tomato?
But they're her wings. Is it there?
Yeah, there.
Yeah. She's there. Well, she's there at the end, I guess. She's not.
But that's also just like the pictures at the end. It's not even.
Yeah, this isn't part of the story, but yeah, the daughter is there in the artwork at the end of the story.
I just thought that was her, and the artist decided to dress her in different clothes.
I thought so too.
She's too flat.
I mean, yes, absolutely.
When I saw that, I was like, where are her boobs?
But then you see the daughter again at the end of the third one. Like I said, the story isn't complete. He says there's a part 4 that hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
Because I think this came out literally a few months ago.
So right here with the cover and then the upside down. With the cover and the upside down picture. When I was looking at this, and I kind of just made the connection, if he is going back in time, that makes sense, because it's like the color picture of her being pregnant is when it happens, and then when he goes back in time, it's the upside down picture of her being black and white. And
no shit.
Back.
Good news. There's a part 4.
It's out?
Yeah.
When did that come out?
A month ago.
Oh, it did?
Damn it. God damn it, Josh! Alright, scrap the podcast.
Okay.
What if we all read it together right now?
Group reading.
You know what? Yeah, let's do it. We will describe this visual medium. Narrate.
Hold on, I think this has incest. Let me see the tags real quick.
Of course it has incest.
She has a daughter, of course it
They imply that there's going to be incest at the end of chapter 3. If there's not incest, they're just disappointing their loyal fan base.
Oh,
I didn't see that.
I didn't until just now when Josh pointed, because I noticed it when I was reading it, the like color and then the black and white one that makes her look way creepier, but I didn't think it was time travel. So now that you guys bring up the time travel, I thought that could be something related to that.
God damn it, we need Tom for this. Like, we are seriously missing an asset, because Tom is the guy that can pick apart all of the art shit. And I feel like if we're missing the symbolism in a visual medium, then we're missing half of the meaning. I
feel like she's also just bringing him back to, like,
okay, so
what that was and to make him okay with it.
Whatever was happening in the last 3, I don't know if that matters.
Why?
Because I think he's in some kind of alternate dimension or something where they're actually married and they're living in like a newlywed life.
Oh, no. I know what you found. I didn't give them to you, but there's 2 alternate chapters where it's just like, if this was a nice story.
Oh, this was nice!
Well.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to mention that.
So what? This guy just like, you know what? Just to fuck with him, we'll make some alternate.
I was like, oh, I see you guys were you want something a little more vanilla. Like, here's this. But here's what's actually happening.
So wait, what? There's 2 of them then?
Yeah, there's 2 like little alternate side stories where they're a married couple, and that they have issues with he's working too much and she wants children and he's not spending enough time with her.
She lives in a fucking shed waiting for him for 10 years.
They live in a nice little apartment and they're married in the little alternate story.
Which, that's something I want to bring up. So this, I guess she would have to be some kind of yokai or spiritual creature then, because she sat in this fucking shed for 10 years, presumably didn't leave if the only way in and out is locked, raised a child in this shed. The child never wanted to leave either.
So why aren't the parents even looking in the shed? Like, why, if they're not using it?
Because they did once.
Yeah, why don't they sell it?
I think it's just more like, hey, what happened? Why don't you want this shed? My wife was attacked, and we just locked up the shed. If you can get it out, you can have it.
I think it has something to do with this. I think there's like a pretty strong culture of burdenship, isn't there, in Japan?
What do you mean?
Like if something happens to you, it's your burden to bear kind of thing.
I mean, okay, so honestly, assuming it was my burden to bear, my son comes out completely traumatized. My wife is bleeding from the throat. I'm probably gonna light that bitch on fire.
I did think about that when I was reading
But
it.
then your property
Is
value will go
destroyed.
down.
That little patch.
Oh, I forgot to also mention the title of the series is Shiragasane, which translates to layers of white. And in addition to moths as well, white is the color of death
Semen.
in Japan.
Oh.
But also semen. If you're a he's a semen first.
I don't know if it's in the second chapter or the third chapter, but he does mention that he never shares what happened to him or his nightmares with anybody else because he feels like
he's
it'll drag
standing
people in
outside
with
and he
him.
says that. Yeah.
And then, I want to know what happened with the mom. Right?
Well, she's clearly still alive, unless we are agreeing that the timeline changes.
I do think it changes a little bit because I mean, if she gets attacked, right? In the first one, they don't even mention that at all, which would be something. So I think it changes a little bit every time. And so this time, because the first time he couldn't say anything, and so when he was able to call for his mom, and she comes looking for him, and then she's like, "Oh God, what the hell is that?" Which is the appropriate response.
I don't know if that's the appropriate response because if you're a Shintoist, in a way, yokai are kind of real to you, right?
Yeah.
And you're supposed to react to yokai in a certain way or else bad things happen.
But
I
they're
mean,
also
she's not fucking... You know, she's not like fucking... What was his name? Zorback from fucking Space Ghost? Like, she looks like a person. God, I can't believe I forgot his fucking... I used to love Space Ghost Coast to Coast, and now I'm fucking...
But I think it's more like... because they're modernized, right?
Yeah.
And so they're culturally Japanese, but it's more like you see that in your shed, and
You're gonna panic.
yeah, you're gonna be like
Zorak!
and it has your child.
So you're gonna panic even more.
No, I'm not saying that's not how most people react, but
Can you go to part 2, page 17?
Now see the
Yes.
American response.
you take out your AR-15 and blow that thing to hell.
The dragon breath rounds.
Okay, maybe if my
Part
child
217?
was naked with it, then I'd have some issues, but that's not necessarily because it's a monster. I think, honestly, seeing her the way she looks, my first instinct would probably be to try to talk to it. She looks like a fucking person.
I know, but
she's
she's
sentient.
not one.
This is page 17.
They
Okay.
look like us, but they're not people. You gotta understand.
Let's open part 3.
She's saying things like, "Give me all of your pain," and she loves the pain, and also when he's scared, he says things like I want all of your happiness or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? That's a really good point.
Is she a Dementor?
Well, in that part, it kind of implies that she's a virgin, doesn't it?
No, she wants his pain.
No, his pain.
But she's saying that it hurts her.
To me, it was more like a "it hurts me when you're away" kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Hang on.
Because see, right there, it's like
Scroll
it's so
up.
much pain that it makes me
wait,
feel
no.
happy.
That
Wait.
or maybe
Because I'm reading right to left, so it says, "The insides of my abdomen are turning into your shape, dear. It hurts a lot. It is so much pain that it makes me feel happy."
I don't think that's necessarily a virgin. I think that's just because she has a moth pussy.
And then right there, she says, "Please give me all of your pain." I wasn't sure if that was like a physical thing, or because on page 23, if you can
She
scroll to
could
page
be,
23.
if you're going to go with the curse thing, she could just be feeding off of his misery.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I wasn't sure if it was
that's how I read
a
it.
physical thing or if it was something like Melinda's saying that that's like what she's feeding on, his fears and his emotions.
You're talking about no matter what kind of painful look you face me with?
Mm-hmm.
No, he's saying, I think he says he's scared, and then she says, "I want all of your happiness."
I don't want to, I'm scared. Please don't tease me. Give it to me, dear. Give me all your happiness.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure if, again, it was a physical thing or if that's like something she's feeding off of.
I thought he was just busting down some hymens, so...
To me, I imagine it's more of like a representative thing, right? Like there's some sort of pain, happiness thing going on here. We were talking about how this whole story takes place in the shed, and I was talking about how, to me, this story, it very obviously is dealing with somebody with trauma. And to me, it reminded me a lot of PTSD. And I'm not going to be one of those people who are like, this character is very clearly suffering from PTSD because I'm an armchair psychologist. No, but like
I'll do it. I have a minor in psychology.
She has a minor too.
No, but like there's like a very obvious literary symbolism with like going into like the belly of the whale kind of thing, especially if you're looking at it like a Joseph Campbell kind of criticism kind of thing.
Can you extrapolate on what that means?
Well, it's like going into like you're like going into like your own mind kind of thing when you go into a closed off space. So to me, the fact that he keeps going back into the warehouse over and over again, to me, it's like the warehouse is almost kind of like his mind in a way, even though it is also a literal space where he seems to be traveling through time. It's like constantly going back into your own mind over and over again to try to find something and to try to get to the source of your trauma, but every time you're just living it over and over again. So to me, it seems like the warehouse / shed is almost like a... It's like...
The dark place in his mind.
It's a dark place in his mind, or you can see the shed as his mind from like a literary criticism perspective.
So it could be he's just in his mind reliving the moment again and again, and the way he's visualizing it is just by physically going into a dark room.
Yeah, I'm not denying the fact that there's also the supernatural element going on.
Yeah, I was like, what could she represent?
What if he just went into a shed when he was 10, beat off to a moth, and now he's super ashamed?
Now he feels so bad about it.
If he was raped as a child, when children are raped, the way they describe the attacker is by things like this, by describing them as an animal or with beastly features. So if he was raped as a child, he could have visualized it as a moth woman, but it could have been like what she was wearing or her hair or things like that. So he could have been raped as a child, and he's reliving it in his mind, but the way he sees it in his child mind, he saw it as a moth woman. So when he relives it, he's imagining the moth woman.
That's actually a really astute way to look at it.
Yeah, because there's also, to me, there's like a lot of strange things going on with the idea of motherhood. We already talked about how in the story, the moth girl attacks the mother when she almost causes like a brain aneurysm or something. She starts like seizing up and coughing blood. But there's also, when that happens in the story, she says,
Actually, can we go back to that panel?
Yeah, the one where the mom starts throwing up?
Yeah.
Throwing up blood?
2,
Yeah.
I believe.
Let's see.
So wait, if she has this... Wait, no, she didn't mention the motherhood. It was in Niji no Ori.
Well, they all mentioned some kind of motherhood. I pointed that out. All of the stories have an aspect of motherhood.
She's a mother.
Here we go. This is when it happens. She says, "Again, you are interfering. Again, what are you?" And then the mom says, "Release my son, you monster." And then she says, "You are unnecessary." And that's when the mom starts seizing up and slowly starts throwing up blood as the son is able to run away from her.
And what's the mom's face look like?
They never directly show the mom's face.
Yeah,
They show it a little bit at one
more?
point.
no.
I think they showed it at the very beginning.
This is the ending. They show it a little at the beginning, but you never see anything above the mom's
Are you
nose.
thinking that maybe this is symbolic of him being raped by his mother?
Oh,
No.
I doubt it.
can you go to the very beginning of the third one? Because I think that's where they show
The mom?
the very beginning.
It's page 3. It's part 3, page 10, where they show the mom where she's got the blood.
Showing
Yeah.
her face.
Yeah.
It looks like she exploded her mouth a little bit.
Yeah, it's just...
Because she's got missing skin right
Which
up here.
again,
I read
be
this whole thing 4 times. I know they don't ever show her face.
Hey, can we go up to the very beginning of 3?
Yes.
What is the symbolism of that?
Of
Wait,
what?
hang on, go down a little bit. Where down one more. See, she touches him on the shoulder and turns around and he's just in the fucking woods.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's right before he gets back to his house.
No, but like
No,
he
that's right
turns.
before he
He's
goes
in
in
the
the shed.
woods and he turns like somebody touched his shoulder.
Yeah, to me that's just the point where the loop starts again. Because I think in the first one he's also walking up through the woods.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in the third one it shows him on the fucking bus after he gets out of bed. Or are you saying that the loops
I
will
think
restart in
it's-
different places?
I think it's the mental thing again. Like because if you go up a little bit, he's just in a dark room, right? Asking to get out and please help me. And then he feels a hand, but then he's outside. So that could be kind of like he's in the dark room where all of the bad, thoughts are living, and then is like jumped out of it.
I will say though, again, going with the idea of the mother, that one panel that they showed, her bangs were very, very close to the way they portray. What the fuck is her name? Kyra?
No, it's Kindco.
So you're saying the moth could be the mother? The mother could have been the one that raped him?
I mean, I'm saying it's possible. And then maybe her quote-unquote death or destruction would be symbolic of the destruction of the way he saw her in his mind. As the mother figure then collapsed, and the only thing that was left was
the monster that was raping him. Oh, I didn't
So where does the little girl moth come in?
Does he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, to me, I don't think there's enough for me to think that it's the mom that raped him. I do think that there's like a way to look at the story as recurrence of sexual trauma, right?
Oh wait, I'm gonna call bullshit one real quick because we don't have part 4 and the lolly moth. I only got 2 panels ago. Okay, so don't ask me to analyze that shit. Now, do I think I'm right? Not necessarily.
But
I think it's an interpretation.
Yeah, I think you could make a relatively okay argument that.
I mean,
mom
I'm looking at her on the
that.
first page of the part 1 or the first few pages. I don't think she looks like the mom.
Yeah, but she's old as fuck. There, go to the beginning of what was it, 2 or 3?
The mom gets hurt, number 2.
Okay, look very close at the moth girl right there. There's a couple of I can't exactly specify where it is, but there's a couple of angles in the panels where you can see her hair, and she only has this front part and the rest is bug. And if you look at the mother, she's got a very similar front of the head that I have to assume was fairly deliberate.
Well, that's where you see the mom's hair.
Well, like when the son turns her over and there's blood.
That's part 3.
So much to look through.
Damn you, moth smutton. Being deep. See, right there. In that panel, it looks a lot like the moth chick's hair to me.
To me, it just seems like her hair is falling to one side.
It's covering her face.
I mean, it could be. It could be. I just think it looks very similarly. And there's a lot of ways that could have been drawn. For it to be drawn that closely, I feel like might be deliberate. Again, this is why I want Tom here.
Could also just be the artist's choice. I mean, the way he just does art.
Everything could be artist's choice. That's not the point of analysis.
I know it's not, but I'm just saying, like, it's just the way he's drawing. He's used to drawing stuff, probably.
Tom Senpai, come save us from ourselves.
But yeah, I don't think it was the mother, if only because we've experienced the moth and little moth girl without everybody else, so that adds an entire new aspect to the narrative.
No, I would agree with that. It's one of the things I wrote in the notes when I was looking at it was like there's almost like a connection between like eternal recurrence and trauma. Well, obviously the same scenario is happening to this man over and over again.
Unless
I feel like you're gonna say something I'm not gonna like.
Probably not. You shouldn't. Unless the time he was away, he had a little sister. Turns out to be his daughter.
That's what I was thinking.
One time his mom raped him and can't see her as anything but. That's fucked up.
That is fucked up.
You're a jerk. That's your sister daughter.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, does he have a little sister? But we don't know.
Well, yeah, because I figured, like, but see, here's the thing: he should have found out about that, and nobody else is ever mentioned in the family.
Yeah, but I was getting at the idea of like eternal recurrence because that's something that happens in Buddhism due to the idea of reincarnation. I was wondering if there was like a connection between this idea of something happening to you over and over again, and like the connection between like just maybe recurrence as it occurs in Buddhism, or like the kind of hells you experience, the kind of torments you experience in like a Buddhist hell.
Well, I think just when you're traumatized, it's hard to let things go. Like, for me, I don't know if it's an aspect of my... Because I'm usually pretty open about my screwballness. I have severe bipolar depression. And if I do something that I feel like is stupid or a mistake or embarrassing in some way, I can't let it go.
You're just going to think over and over
Yeah,
and over
I
again.
dwell on shit super bad.
And you're going to, like, go through every single aspect of the memory you have and analyze, no?
Yeah,
kind of like
absolutely.
what he's doing. Like, he's going through it over and over again.
And sometimes you think about, like, what you could have done differently or what you should have done differently.
I feel like, to me, with the discussion we've been having, my mind is now towards he got raped when he was a child, and maybe whoever raped him got pregnant, and that's where the little moth girl is coming from, and I think he's reliving it in his brain. But then, I don't know.
The little moth girl, here's the thing. The little moth girl might, in terms of representation and, like, literary metaphor, she might not be an actual other person. The little moth girl could represent anything from the innocence that he lost inside that shed to, I don't know, a fractured psyche, a piece of himself, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can do that.
Because to me, obviously, this story is about, obviously me, but it's about kind of dealing with sexual trauma in a way. And to me, just because a story can be about sexual trauma and about reliving this horrible moment over and over and learning to cope with it, which we might see a resolution by the 4th chapter, doesn't mean that exact same thing is happening to the character. Because obviously, to me, the supernatural element is a literal element in the story as I see it. So even though the story can be about having to relive and cope with sexual trauma, that doesn't mean that is exactly what is happening to him.
Understood.
There's I don't think this could be a type of hell, right? Because that's usually a punishment.
Yeah.
What does this guy do? Except leave his parents.
See, we don't know anything about him, though. Like, there's no characterization here on anybody's
Well,
part.
it's still going back to when he was a child. Then.
I'm assuming he did mildly okay and didn't really make a lot of social interactions because of his trauma. Because he didn't ask anybody for help, he just went to go do it. Like, again, that could just be the whole Asian thing, that's my problem, but... I don't know. We need to know more about this guy.
No. We can revisit this when the 4th part comes out, but we've been talking about this one for a while.
If we ever get to the point where we can start interviewing hentai people, this dude's at the top of my list.
No, I do. I think out of a lot of the artists we read, he is the one that... His work is the most literary, or he's one of the most literary hentai artists we've done.
Dude.
The one I wanted to talk about the most other than this one is Niji no Ori, so let's move on to Niji no Ori. We already went over what this one is about. So yeah, what did you all find interesting about this story? To me, I want to just get straight to it so we don't take too long, but the most interesting point to me happens right here, where he's like, the character, the protagonist, who is called Makun, and the female insect woman is Toka-san. Makun is saying, forget actually living here. Aren't you man-eating demi-humans supposed to be completely banned from entering this area? Oh, that's fine. Everyone who lives in this complex is a demi-human after all. And then, what? Your species is the one that created those rules to begin with, then tried to force them on us. You humans raise cows and pigs so you can eat them, and yet you don't allow us to do the same. Doesn't that seem odd? So isn't it only fair that we get to live our lives freely and eat the food we want to eat too, isn't it?
I agree. I also think that was the most interesting part.
Now,
to me, whatever argument the text is developing, to me, seems to be centered around that sort of element right there.
So, like, maybe... I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Xavier.
So now that statement brought up a lot of questions. Are the animals, like the pigs and cows, also demi-humans that are farmed? Or are they just pigs and cows and their demi-humans are a separate breed that, some people might be pig people or cow people, also known as minotaurs and orcs? And how long have demi-humans been around in this universe to where humans have had to put rules on them? Has there been wars that's justified?
Aren't I usually the one that asks for, like, story shit, and then I have to get told down by it's only 16 pages?
It's only 38 pages, Xavier.
But in this world, where it's just like, oh, demi-humans are a thing, and humans have enforced rules on them. Are they justified? Like, for example, if there were certain groups in our society that we had to enforce rules on for a reason, would they be justified?
I think that's what it's getting at.
Yeah.
Those people, obviously, this story...
Even if those people are a danger to everybody else.
Why don't you just go out and say it, Xavier?
It's because it applies to a lot of people.
Well, I was pointing this out last time we recorded, where I thought it was kind of like just people going to a different land and taking over and saying, well, this is the rule. These are the rules.
Basically
now.
colonization.
Yeah. And I think this is not exactly colonization, but also kind of just the entitlement that some
I didn't see it like that.
societies feel.
I do think an argument could be made that the plight of the protagonist in this story, it would exactly mirror the plight of like the cows and the pigs that we raise. We keep them on our property. They live with us. We don't let them escape. And then when it's time, kerplow.
But do they have the same level of sentience?
Or is it just living beings?
Yeah. If they were rounding up demi-humans like that, they'd be really fucked up.
See, I don't think this particular artist would necessarily, or if there is an argument to be made, I don't think it is one of sentience. I think it is of keeping living things as property and, I guess, imposing your will on them.
Oh, well, they're not a property, they're a resource.
Huh?
They're not a property, they're a resource.
Oh, well, yeah. That's what I'm referring to.
Does anybody else have a moment you want to point out to? To me, this is the most interesting point in the story.
It's interesting to me that he maintains a worried look throughout the entire fucking thing.
I just kind of want to figure out, like, why the whole thing, like, why keep him just because.
To me, it's almost like she sees him like a pet.
That's what I was going to say, like a plaything. That's her plaything.
Like, she's eaten other ones, apparently. So why keep this one?
Well, it's implied towards the end that she's tried to take care of them, so maybe they end up running off.
They try to run off and then they get swarmed by, like, other man-eating. Okay, so that's another thing. How many... What are the other man-eating insects? Because, like, okay, I don't know what the hell she is.
I mean, apparently there's different kinds, too. Like, there's apparently demi-humans that don't eat people, and there's demi-humans that eat people that are banned from,
Yeah, she's like why aren't we allowed? It's because you're going to eat people. I feel that's fair.
Yeah.
They're a danger. You don't want them around your people. But I don't know. And there's I think they have like the drow problem, right?
Yes. Let us bring D&D into this.
Well, because like female driders, sexy spider lady, male driders, ugly spider people.
That's not entirely true. That depends on what edition and what campaign setting.
We're not going to get into that right now, though.
But yeah, like you saw the spider dude, or the bug dude was just
he's much more monstrous looking than she is.
Yeah,
like I think he even has like full bug eyes and everything.
Yeah,
he also has sharp teeth. She has mandibles, which I highlighted right there. That's why I opened this panel. He actually had he had some sort of insectoid kind of mouth going on.
He was basically a Power Ranger villain. And then again with the whole like backstory of this, did they evolve this way or were they already like that?
Did somebody go and fuck some really big insect?
Or no, I'm saying like did they evolve this way to attract males to devour?
Oh. Mm.
Here's also something interesting I saw. It's on pages 30 and 35. So you all, some of you have brought up that whole, you specifically, Anna, you brought up the fact that some sort of idea of motherliness gets brought up in all
of these. And in this one, I wrote it down on page 30, so probably the same thing.
Oh, when he's like falling asleep, grabbing her breast. It's a little comical.
Like a baby.
That always bothers me in hentai is that every time a man sucks somebody's breast, it's always like, you look just like a baby. Just because you like breasts doesn't mean you're an infant.
Maybe, do you think that's also a cultural thing?
Possibly.
It's like real men are ass men.
Yeah, just because if somebody likes breasts doesn't mean they want to be infantilized.
I think it could just be because maybe she wants a child and she can't. Maybe.
I mean, yeah, probably in this one, but it happens a lot in other hentai.
Now, what were you going to say about the motherly aspect? I brought that up just because I wanted to get all of your all's ideas about. My Texanness is coming out as I'm speaking.
Y'all.
Yeah, y'all's ideas about why do you think that? Obviously, it could be related to the fact that this is two artists that we're looking at. But what do you think might be related about that whole motherliness and insectoidness?
Honestly, I didn't know what it was about. I just noticed that all of the stories we read had some sort of
Motherly moment with the insect woman?
Yeah. So I wasn't sure if that was kind of like a way of humanizing the insect women, I don't know.
Something I haven't brought up yet is that...
Wait, what is it?
I was going to say something. I'm gonna reword it in my mind differently.
And then say
yes.
Got it.
Well, I always say, if you say something, I always believe in the right that you have the fact to clarify what you said. Even though social justice warriors on the internet won't let you do that. Okay, something I didn't mention is that a lot of times in monster design, when it comes to things like horror movies, the two sorts of animals, or at least in the animal kingdom, that people use to make something alien are insects and underwater creatures. So to me, there's something very alien about the aesthetics of insect girls, which the same fan who was posting insect girl stuff in our Discord brought up the fact that something he really finds appealing about insect girls is the aesthetics of them.
Yeah, xenophile.
But she doesn't have a belly button. How can I go...
So I was wondering if
you
there's
can do that to her vagina.
I mean, yeah, you can. That's inappropriate to do in public.
Is that something you do in your relationship? Is that like 2.5 base?
No, I was wondering if maybe there was some connection between like the alienness of the woman and motherliness.
I think, also because we addressed this...
Do you think that not Japanese, but do you think the artists in particular feel some sort of alien relationship with their mothers? Not the artists themselves, but like that sort of alien relationship to mothers is coming up.
We all know everybody wants to secretly fuck their mothers.
Oh my god.
I don't know. To me, I think it's more of... we discussed about how with monster girls, the protagonist is usually in some kind of submissive position. Mm-hmm. I think it kind of goes along with that. Maybe... I don't mean to sound like I'm generalizing, but the Japanese do tend to have a cultural predilection towards incest. I almost had insect and insects.
Insects.
And like 3 or 4 different words at the same time, so it came out weird. Cultural predilection towards incest.
Yeah. Well, like you said, we try not to generalize, right? That's why I had to clarify myself 2 times as I was speaking. Maybe not the Japanese, but it's something we definitely see prolifically in Japanese media, right?
Okay, yes. So that's are you implying that that's just what they send us? So what do the Japanese think of us?
Well, it's also like you were talking about the way people. What do we send?
They think we're all from like fucking Arkansas. Oh, the Americans, they like to fuck their cousins, right? Send them the incest.
Well,
I've seen their Pornhub.
To me, it's related to what you said on another episode about that the way Japanese people speak in real life is not the same as the way they speak in anime. Like, anime is exaggerated speech sometimes, right? It's not... You shouldn't expect people to speak the way they speak in an anime. To me, just because incest comes up a lot in Japanese media doesn't mean we should expect the Japanese to be incestuous, I guess is how I would academically put that.
No, you're... Honestly, that's a good point. But I disagree in the fact that...
We should absolutely expect them to be incestuous.
No. I think we are very nearly as incestuous as the Japanese are.
If not more.
We do. No. See, we are by...
searches by country.
I'm Mexican, so I'm not in this incest thing.
So it counts, yes, by numbers-wise.
You mean like demographically?
No, like just sheer numbers. Because there's so many fucking people in America, yes. Percentage-wise, no.
No, there definitely is a rise in American pornographic media of incest as like a taboo that's almost been normalized just due to the prevalence of it in pornography.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
So our big thing is lesbian.
Yeah.
According to Pornhub. Teen 18 plus. That's a very narrow definition.
Well, because you don't want less than that. That's illegal.
Well, yes, I'm aware, Xavier. Thank you. My geography is bad. Is that the UK?
Where are you?
Hang on, we're looking for Asia. Anal. This whole fucker over here is light blue for anal. Yeah, here. You're smarter than me. You can parse that better. Xavier can too.
Japan's big thing is hentai.
Well, that should have expected. Well, okay, with this one and the motherly instincts, I think it's baser than that. I think it's because she's a bug. And bug people have instincts.
Don't.
No, what I was bringing up was something I noticed was look at the way she looks right there, the forever and ever, when she's talking about taking care of them, that look in her eyes. That's kind of like, when I read it the first time, it looks kind of crazy, right? I think Undead is a tag in this one. Yeah, she's kind of having like this crazy motherly moment. She's like, I'm going to take care of you forever and ever and ever.
Like also like a crazy possessive motherly.
Well, can I bring up one thing real fast? I don't know if I'm waylaying you.
No, well, hold up. Let me just get through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That same look in her eyes comes up again when he says, she looked at me like I wasn't a person. That's the landlady's eye in that first panel up top. Mm. You look at her eyes, though, at the bottom panel, Toka-san's eyes. She has the same look in her eyes. I was wondering what sort of connection that was supposed to imply when she's having this obsessively motherly feeling towards him. That is also, you're not a person,
Do you think
you're
that's
less
the
than
same
that to
look,
me.
though? Because that looks far harsher to me than the other one.
Than this one?
Yeah, the other one's a little bit more endearing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still the same level of, I guess, intensity.
Yeah. Because the rings in her eyes aren't there. They're not, well, not that many rings are there. They only come up in that panel right there when she's saying forever and ever. Mm-hmm. And then the only other time they pop up again is when she's looking at him.
Well, I think that's just an art thing because it's really hard to draw those when your eye isn't that big.
What were you about to say, Annie?
What I said about how that eye looks like harsher, with the black center being far more dilated than the other one.
What were you about to say, Chaz?
I was about to say, have you noticed that the forever and ever thing has been a recurring thread? Because that was in Shiragasane, that's in this.
Obsessiveness?
Is it an obsessiveness, or do you think it's something that's intrinsically tied to the female, or not the female, the
females can be
insect
pretty
nature?
clingy.
I didn't hear what you said.
The insect nature.
Oh, the insect nature.
You think there's something about that just ties to forever and ever? Is it something like roaches are just hard to kill, and so they're always around, or what is it? By the way, stepmom, the #1 most searched porn term in 2016 in the United States. Then lesbian, then stepsister, then MILF, then cartoon. We like cartoon better than hentai? That's
Cartoon
interesting.
titties.
That's also a strange thing to me, just simply because, like we said, in the first episode, episode 0, you said nobody wants to look at Steamboat Willie cartoon porn. But I think the majority of cartoon porn in the U.S. is parodies of stuff like Family Guy and The Simpsons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
By volume, yes. Because they're just so easy to draw. But yeah, I do think it is just like a very base instinct thing. And again, I don't know everything about this world. They might not live as long as humans. So forever and ever could be the rest of her life, which is like 4 months. I don't know, man.
Also, they could just be eating the meals. That was interesting too.
Oh.
Yeah, that was something I was expecting to possibly come up, was insect mating habits that come up in these stories.
I was also maybe thinking that like, oh, they're gonna use them as a food source. By food source, she actually just wants the semen, and no, they actually eat them. So I don't know.
You were like, please just take the semen, leave the rest of me. So yeah, well, real quickly, was there anything interesting you all found about Love Stickness Girl and Shundou no Kokoro? Did you like that punch as? Stick Girl? Sickness?
Honestly, I thought she was a tick at first, so no, that one fell
You
flat.
thought she was
The tick.
Okay, well, it's Love Sickness Girl, but because
Right.
she's a stick girl, yeah, they stick the T in there. Did you all have anything interesting that you wanted to point out about either this one or Shundou no Kokoro?
Again, I thought. Like I said, I thought she was a tick. I thought she was either going to drain this guy or eat him or something. Also, I was not so expecting her to have boobs. I was like, okay, she's going to pull her shirt off. These are going to be arms, and it's going to be fucking chitin all the way down. Because if you look at the only parts of her you can see, her hands are full bug, her feet are full bug. I was like, she's bugged from the neck down. And clearly that did not happen.
What were you about to say, Annie?
In Shundou no Kokoro, so she gets pregnant, right? And then the illness kind of pauses while she's pregnant. And then with all of the other things with, mothers and being in the stories, I thought, is this kind of like the miracle of life? Every woman should be getting pregnant because it's going to just cure you of everything.
Everyone should get pregnant, even if you have a disease. That was the part that worried me on this one. Like, what if the daughter comes out or son?
An insect.
Complete bug?
Or what if it's just like a swarm of insects that come out of her vagina?
Let's just say, like, why did you, honey? You can't leave your eggs out here.
What if the doctor's like, I can't hear the heartbeat, but it just kind of sounds like buzzing?
Like, it just sounds like chittering. That's awful.
That's a cicada.
Well, to me, it's more like a child solve their relationship problems kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's never the case, guys.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, if you feel like having a child will save your relationship, you are 95% wrong. There are possibly 5% of times where that will work out.
I mean,
It'll work out in a very, very
if the problem in the relationship is I can't have a kid with you, and then you have a kid, yeah, that probably saved it.
But if you're using a child to like keep the relationship alive, guys, no.
If you take nothing else away from this podcast, no. Just never get anyone pregnant ever.
Sounds
never
good.
get pregnant.
Yeah.
Just save your eggs and freeze them, right? You can do
If
that.
you feel like you want to get pregnant, go watch Alien. That's how it works. Just gonna burst right out of your chest.
Mansplaining
No.
at its finest.
You know I'm joking.
I know.
So,
Do you think there's anything important about the fact that they used to have a student-teacher relationship?
I thought that was real creepy, but I didn't want to get too far off of the tag.
no, he was responsible. He waited until after she
That's
graduated
bullshit.
to marry. Yeah, I don't know if they had sex in the classroom any time before that.
Because, like, I don't know.
Sometimes there's
Is she-
those teachers that aren't that much older than the
But
students themselves.
Is she in
It's
high
true.
school? Because if she's in college, and then I can kind of get it. But if she's in high school,
No, yeah, I had a history teacher who was 25.
but how old are you in high school?
I was 17.
I was 17 when I graduated.
What's the minimum? Like you know this. What's the minimum age that you have to be to have enough college under your belt to teach children?
4.
By standard, assuming
No,
that nobody
average
got
age.
like accelerated.
Oh, average age?
Like 21, 22, I think.
Yeah. Like, you can start student teaching before that, so you can start student teaching when you're like 20.
Yeah, student teaching, that's what I was talking about. Usually they have that in Japan a lot, where they're just kind of like kids teaching other kids.
No, yeah, but she was an adult and she had like a kid already. But, so I don't know how old this guy is. He doesn't look too much older. But he's also a dude in a hentai, so he might be like 30.
She also looks very edgy, and I was like, oh, fashion statements, and then I realized
It's
it
like, oh
wasn't
no,
that.
you have a disease, I'm sorry.
I like the hair.
Yeah, what's that thing popping out of her head, though?
I think it's like an antenna.
Yeah, it's like a feeler.
What's that saying about people that like to dress like that, though?
Because I was saying, do you think there's almost some sort of element of, like, her disease is like a representation of, like, the guilt he feels for literally marrying somebody who was a student? I don't think there's enough in the story to hold ground with that, but...
No, I don't
It is an
think so.
interesting.
So here's the one interesting thing I would want to say about this story is I told you all guys I read that book that I bought at Gen Con about the connection between Japanese aesthetics and anime.
Yeah.
And there's two aesthetic ideas that it seemed to me got brought up in this story, even if not intentionally.
Hold up, is one of them going to be her hair?
Yes.
Okay.
Not just her hair, but her whole half and half kind of appearance.
Yeah.
So there's these two concepts in Japanese aesthetics, and what are they? Oh, I was looking at the wrong
Concept
thing.
1 and Concept 2.
No, it's fukensei, which is asymmetry, and the beauty in asymmetry and imperfection, and the other is wasabi, which is kind of the concept of intransience when it comes to aesthetics and design, which basically is the idea is that nothing is ever complete or nothing is perfect and everything is changing.
Wabi sabi, not wasabi.
No, I said wabi-sabi.
You
said
said
wasabi.
Oh, my bad.
I'm just like, I was like, wasabi. It's like, that's an
I got real
interesting.
confused.
My apologies. No, yeah, so there's, I think it's fukensei and wabi-sabi. So do you think that kind of aesthetic idea that imperfection kind of gets brought up in this story and it's kind of resolved with accepting that imperfection in their
Oh yeah,
relationship?
I can definitely see that.
I thought that was really interesting because that was the first time I can use what I've learned about Japanese aesthetics to read a hentai.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Keep going.
I do think it was very minor, though. Okay, I mean, I'm sure in that world, it's like your wife's turning into a bug. I'm sorry, it's pretty awful, right? But it's not like cancer or AIDS.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering on what
Well,
level.
they say she was going to start developing autoimmune diseases.
Yeah, like, so I'm wondering, like, on what level am I supposed to, like, put this at? Like, where on the this is the shitty things that happens to somebody?
So with the love sickness girl, the only really thing I felt like was that I saw was kind of like that dealing with xenophobia and accepting people for the unique individual snowflakes that they are, and that's what makes them special. I'm pretty sure the guy directly says that at one point. Here we go. For sure, there are some differences in appearances, but those are just part of a person's unique charm. They bring out their individuality, you know. Then he apologizes because he was only considering his own feelings. But to me, that also felt like how it was with the Lamia one, where it feels like the artist kind of explaining the appeal of the tag to us in a way.
I feel like there was a lot of explaining in general.
But also, just for the last little thing I noticed about this one is he's talking about how he loves her for being a unique individual, and he gives her a hairpin, and it's a snowflake. For Love Sickness Girl?
Yeah, for Love Sickness Girl, really quick. It just happened, and I have to point it out because, God, does it bother me every time it happens.
What is it? Something in the story?
Yeah. She had sex with him, and all of a sudden, that one magical night made all of her insecurities disappear.
Well, yeah, because sex solves everybody's problems.
Yeah, it does not fucking do that.
I mean, but she's a bug.
What do you mean? What's the difference? You have insecurities, it's not gonna just...
She's not
like,
a human being.
Well, she thought nobody would want to touch her because she's a gross bug. But now she knows that she's not a gross bug.
So did she, like, already have that outfit? Or did she go and buy that outfit after she had sex with him?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe, because I don't know how recent the integration was, but maybe it was like, oh, I'll see if I can wear this because I can usually wear this with all my bug friends. And then she goes, wears it around people, and they're like, you're gross. And she was like, oh, now I can't wear this anymore.
I understand your plight with that, but to me it seems like a lot of problems in hentai will be resolved by sex because we're reading erotica.
Yeah, I get it. I just had to point it out.
I get it. So yeah, what sort of connecting ideas did we see in these couple of works by these two artists?
Like I said, a lot of the forever and ever type thing.
The pregnancy or motherhood thing.
Yeah, the mother.
What do you all have any last ideas about why you think that might be significant?
The only thing I could think of is a way of humanizing insects.
I just go with bug people. Like, they're bug people in human relationships, and they're just like, I can't have kids, so...
I'm going to cut the middle line and say they have base instincts like bugs. And so one of those instincts would be motherly.
Was there anything in any of these stories you would want to modify or change?
I'd want a little... I know this isn't the point of the story, but I just want some clarity on the first 3 we did.
Shiragasane?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to
clear
know
up
what the fuck her powers are.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with supernatural shit going down. Clearly I am. That's not the issue. I just want to know what the supernatural shit can do.
Yeah. So I don't really want to change the story. I just want to know.
I kind of want to know what kind of bugs they were. So because we have moth and then stick, and then the other one was turning into some kind of moth. I think maybe.
Really, I thought she was closer to like a roach or something.
Yeah,
with the
she
feelers
did.
coming out.
Yeah, but she had
Or
the
a beetle.
wing. She had the wing thing.
Yeah, but it was like a bee wing.
Roaches have
It
wings.
wasn't
I
like
think-
a moth wing.
I think in the one where the guy's a captive, I think she's supposed to be a mantis. Because she has the mantis mandibles and she's about to eat another man.
True.
Yeah, Niji no Ori.
I agree though. I would like some clarity as to what kind of insect they are.
The one time in Insect Girl Hentai, it is almost always pointed out when they're a specific insect, as if... Well, it's when they're not even an insect, it's when they're a spider woman or an arachne.
That's true.
For some reason, that's always specified that... I think it almost would have been a completely tag of its own as Spider Girls. And not related to Into the Spider-Verse whatsoever.
I'm so excited.
That does look pretty kick-ass.
Yeah.
You get to see Scooter, dude.
Do you think there's anything in these texts that we read that people could apply to their own sex lives?
Except
Eat your spouse.
Grow some
It's
wings.
cheaper than divorce.
accept people for who they are, even if they have quirks. Because I guarantee you, they're not gonna be as monstrous as that.
Xavier coming
don't
out
know
of left
that.
field with the deep shit making us all feel bad.
No, but you do not know that. They could be far more monstrous psychologically.
I mean, that's true, but then there's the first moth one, where it's just like, you gotta learn how to deal with that.
What if your partner is never mind. Let's keep going. Like,
Well, what role did you all think this tag played in the story and the sex acts performed might say about the psychological motivations of this text audience?
People want to fuck bugs.
I think it's like that different sensation, right? I think people want to experiment with different, maybe like cheeses, like the Swiss cheese pervert. Different
Whoa,
textures.
is there some hostility to Swiss cheese that I'm picking up?
No, there's a hostility towards this one particular man that flashes women by luring them in with Swiss cheese, and he also likes masturbating into the cheese, and he wants to find a new love in his life that is willing to have sexual acts with him in the Swiss cheese, because he has tried having sex with many varieties of cheese, and he feels like Swiss cheese is optimal.
Well,
It already has holes.
Yeah.
There we go.
But, no, see, here's the thing. He lures women in with Swiss cheese.
Yeah, it's kind of like, hey, look at this cheese, and then he has.
Oh, okay,
it
not
on
just
his,
like he leaves a trail and like, oh, Swiss cheese, I can't resist that.
Yeah, I thought he was like using Swiss cheese to get
Like,
women. I was like, is that the secret? Can women not resist Swiss cheese?
I can resist Swiss cheese. It's not.
I was thinking of the freaking what's his name? That one actor that they bring up a lot in Family Guy. The piece of candy. Ooh,
Oh,
piece of candy.
James
Woods.
Rhodes?
There was
James
James
Woods.
Woods.
There we go.
Rose.
Oh, do you think there's anything said about gender relations in these texts or
I doubt it,
applications?
unless you identify as a bug.
Well, there's that mother thing that I suppose could be extrapolated on for gender relationships.
If you identify as a mother.
Now's the fun part.
Yay!
We're gonna make our own Monster Girl story.
Oh,
Or Insect Girl.
Oh boy. Specifically insect.
Yes. You can't use spiders, they're not insects. They belong to their own, what is it, genus?
Spiders?
Yes.
Species are... I mean, yeah, species.
I don't remember where I put my dice.
It's okay. I've got a shitload of them
Oh,
in my
cool,
bag.
cool, cool.
Well, before we take out dice, does anybody have an idea that you want to already put out there that you would want in your own Insect Girl story? Okay, get the dice.
I mean, as far as like a character goes, we can go weird. Go with the centipede.
Oh god. Oh, I cringed a little bit, but okay.
No,
so
that's a thing.
centipede. Yeah, centipede. I'm sorry for whoever's into centipedes. I didn't mean. Do that.
You okay with using a D10 and divide by 2?
Sure, unless you have a D5.
Or
Don't use the green ones. They hate you.
some kind of bee.
Bee?
I did see bee girls.
I like bee more than centipede. If I'm honest.
I've been in the Darkstalkers community long enough to know that Queen Bee is somebody's waifu.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Who's coming up with our female protagonist? I hope it's not me. I hate it when I go first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Melinda, what kind of bug is she and what does she do?
You said we can't do spiders, right?
Oh, they're
not
not
insects.
insects.
Okay.
You have so many bugs.
Let's go with a butterfly.
Okay, a butterfly woman.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it the one from Bugs Life?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Oh,
was
that
a-
is-
She was
she-
a,
what was
she was
she?
a moth.
She was a
actually.
moth. Never mind.
All right.
Hey, Heimlich became a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah, but that's he.
Yeah,
that's
what
still a
kind of
he.
What kind of mutant was he?
I think he came out of the cocoon too early. Isn't that what
thickness.
happens?
Wait, you can't come out of the cocoon. too
No,
early.
he didn't.
Oh yeah, because
He just
they
kinda came
literally
out.
melt, right?
Then
Yeah.
they go, and
Yeah.
then they get put back together, and then they still retain their memory somehow.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, but you can't.
It's magic.
You don't. It's like stopping a Pokemon from evolving.
You just hit B.
It's just like every time you age, like every birthday, you somehow melt entirely and then just turn up a little different. That would be so weird.
All right, who's coming up with the male protagonist? Xavier.
Oh boy, I'm gonna go.
It doesn't have to be a male protagonist.
It doesn't. But
I'm gonna go with a very.
the tag was insect girl, so you did have to pick an insect girl.
A very enthusiastic.
Entomologist.
Entomologist.
Okay.
All right.
Do you want to give us any description of our enthusiastic entomologist?
We'll say he's an older gentleman.
Age range? Decade?
He's in like his 40s.
Okay.
He didn't really
Already
find-
did his doctoral.
But is he
Yeah.
handsome?
I mean, yeah, but he's kind of weird, so that's why he didn't get married because
So he's handsome. He's just weird.
because he likes bugs a lot.
All right. I can dig it.
All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Who's giving us the setting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. God damn it, it's me.
I have to do something in this.
Well, I don't know why. I prefer not being one of the first ones. Although I suppose in this case
This
I'm
is
literally
exactly
in the
your
middle.
middle.
Okay.
It's easier to improvise when you have shit to work with.
Yeah.
Okay, the setting. We have a butterfly. Where do butterflies tend to migrate within the U.S.?
Mexico.
Mexico. Okay, so yeah, let's say he's doing field study in Mexico.
What part?
Where are the big ass pyramids?
All over the place.
The main ones, the ones you've been to.
The jungles.
I don't think I've been to the ones you're talking about, but I don't know which ones. There's just so many.
Give me one of the ones you've been to.
El Tajín.
All right. So we got this entomologist, and he's doing field study in Tajín.
Tajín like the chile.
Right. So now Melinda's 1 through 5. Chaz is 6 through.
Linda went.
No.
She came with the butterfly.
Chaz is 1
Oh,
through
yeah.
5. I'm
Okay, yeah,
I'm
my
six.
It's
bad.
me and her, and you better roll hard because I don't know shit about Tahine.
It's just pyramids. Just
It's
pyramids.
just non-stop pyramids. The hotels are
No,
pyramids.
it's just some
The
pyramids.
cars are pyramids.
Some green lands. That's it.
All right, Chaz is 1 through 5 on A. 6 through 10. Who's gonna develop the scenario?
Think jungle, pyramids, and very
Chaz.
small.
Okay, so this overly enthusiastic entomologist, he has actually been eyeing this girl ever since she was a caterpillar. But no, their love was forbidden for she was too young. And so he has helped raise this girl from caterpillarhood, and now she is a beautiful butterfly. She is old enough to accompany him to Tahine, and then one night, when they're all alone in a pyramid.
So is he like doing that thing where they raise the butterfly and they release it out of captivity kind of thing?
Sure,
Okay.
He was
that's less
grooming-
creepy than what I had in
He
mind.
was grooming her.
How does the rest of this play out?
Okay.
Ha ha, it's your problem.
Okay, so they go to a pyramid and they start having sex at times up on top of the pyramid.
Is it kind of like I have to say goodbye to you now kind of thing? Go be with your own people?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's daytime, right? And all of a sudden the sky gets super dark and there's thunder and they hear a voice of how dare you do this dirty act in my tomb? How dare you have such disgraceful thoughts and
Carnal relations.
and so the only way to save what the city they're in is for him to kill her, and he has to murder her on top of the pyramid so her blood drains down and
appeases Huitzilipochtli.
sure. And that's it.
Did I say that one right?
Who's Portugal?
Yeah, okay. Huitzilipochtli.
The
Sun
Hashtag
God.
God of War.
Do you actually pronounce the L in names like
It's
that?
technically Vitsiporong, pero
Yeah, and then the E doesn't really come up.
it's like puddle, kind of like puddle.
Puddle. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Beatsy Puddle.
That took a very dark turn, but that's okay.
Yeah, you added a couple extra tags onto that, but you know what? That's all right.
Yeah.
All right.
I appreciate the curveballs.
Thanks.
Well, thank you, listeners, for listening to another episode of the Hentai Literature Club podcast. Thank you to our sponsors, Hipserelf. It's a medication for people who have restless hip syndrome, and sometimes your hips move on their own, Oni-chan, and you need that medication to help you with that. So yeah, buy Hipserel if you have that problem. Other than that, a thank you to our patrons for supporting us. If you too wish to financially support us, you can find the link to our Patreon down in the description.
You know you want that interview.
But yeah, wherever you're listening to this, go ahead and leave us a comment if you wish to engage in the discussion. As I said, there is a board on the CAFCON Discord, which is also going to be linked in the description to this audio, wherever you're listening to it. If you wish to join us and join in the discussion, I post the stuff we're going to be looking at and talking out ahead of time. So yeah, if you want to read along with us, go there. We also have a bunch of other social media, including where you can find our Twitch streams and all that other cool stuff. And other than that, I am Josh from the Hentai Lit Club, and fap on.
Oh, that's my line.
Oh, I can't believe you guys are actually doing this.
It was your idea.
It was a joke.
This was entirely your idea.